Today on the program, Steve is going to share with us how Jesus delivered him from alcoholism.
One of the problems I had with recovery, and especially with Alcoholics Anonymous, was they required me to find a higher power. They called him God. Maybe I was a little bit angry with God, thinking that he was allowing a lot of things to go wrong in the world. So I wasn't very close with Jesus. I honestly couldn't open my eyes because it just kept flooding into me. And I didn't even realize, I couldn't feel my body. All I can wish is that when that happens to you, you will have that experiential relationship, that personal relationship with God. I was about to lose my job, my wife, my children, my house, my car. I would have lost everything. And I have everything that I've ever wanted now. Any chance I get a chance to witness for Jesus, I will do that, because he gave me my life back. So who am I to say I'm not supposed to do just this?
On this episode of My Experiences with Jesus.
So this is my story with my recovery from drug addiction. Alcohol was my drug of choice. I grew up in a Christian home. I went to church every Sunday pretty well as a child. And as soon as I was able, I stopped going to church. Not for any real reason other than I thought I could do something more productive with a Sunday than go to church. I drifted away from church. And as life goes by, I guess I got cynical a little bit. Maybe I was a little bit angry with God, thinking that he was allowing a lot of things to go wrong in the world. So I wasn't very close with Jesus that I thought. As I got older, I drank more and more. When I became an adult, it just became a part of my life. My family drank as well. I surrounded myself with friends who drank more than me, so it made my alcoholism not look so bad. I honestly maybe thought I was an alcoholic, but didn't really care. I was just going to drink, and I'd be a functional alcoholic if that's what people wanted to call me. In any case, when I was in my early 40s, a few incidents happened, and I found myself in detox one night. I waited for about a month, and I went to rehab in the city of North Bay. And I was going to AA meetings every day. One of the problems I had with recovery, and especially with Alcoholics Anonymous, was they required me to find a higher power. They called him God. And they didn't call him Jesus. They didn't call him Allah. They said, you need to find something larger than yourself that you can recover with. And so I did what they told me to do. Very clear 12-step program. Recovery in rehab was even more intense. They had actual exercises and things that you had to do I was thinking, convince myself that I'm alcoholic. I already knew that I was a drunk and I needed to quit drinking. And I had quit drinking, but I was hanging on by my fingertips. I wasn't really strong in my recovery, but I'm a stubborn person, as a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts are. And I kind of challenged the program. I said, I will do what you tell me to do. If you say it'll work, let's see. Let's see how it goes. And so I was in a 21-day program for rehab. So I was really struggling with this higher power thing. I believe it was one of the other peers in my rehab group that told me to just fake it until you make it. Says you don't have to, believe in God. You just need to believe that there's something out there that is bigger than you. So I believe it was one of the other peers in my rehab that suggested that I just fake it until I make it. It was a saying that they had. And because I wasn't the only guy struggling with this God thing. So I considered the group to be my higher power. The group of peers that I had and my counselor. And that kind of helped me to know that there was something bigger than me. And it truly was, And so I wasn't too worried about this whole God thing. But I did all the exercises they asked me to do. They had exercises that made me realize how much money I spent on my addiction. They had all kinds of things to show me, to allow me to get rid of the shame that I was building up over my lifetime, over things that I did that were caused by poor behaviors with my alcoholism, or just life itself. There's a bunch of things that happens in your life that you didn't really plan to do, and it builds your shame. So I was slowly learning how to get rid of those things by recognizing what I had done, to realize that, everybody does these kind of things, and to forgive myself. So about 2 weeks into the 3-week rehab, I was sitting again at one of these lectures that they would have. It would be a video lecture with a counselor somewhere, and they'd have a certain subject that they'd be going at each time. I was getting chronically tired because I was doing a lot of praying, which I didn't really have my heart into, but they told me to do it. I would meditate and be quiet and just, do all the things that they were actually asking me to do. And so one day I was in a room. There was a bunch of chairs set out as usual. There was a video going on, and it was, I guess maybe I was drifting off. I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying. I was becoming a bit meditative. My eyes were closed. Everyone was silent except for the speaker on the video. And all of a sudden, I felt just an overwhelming rush coming into me, almost like into the top of my head. And at the time, I kind of pictured myself as this giant garbage can who had been getting rid of all the bad stuff, just getting rid of all the garbage that was inside me. And all of a sudden, there's this tipping point where there's enough room for goodness to flow into me. And it was really quite amazing. I honestly couldn't open my eyes because it just kept flooding into me. And I didn't even realize, I couldn't feel my body. And apparently I was weeping uncontrollably. And all of a sudden, in the next few minutes, I would feel a hand on my shoulder, and then another hand over here on this shoulder, and one on my back. And I knew it was my peers who thought that I was going through something really terrible. And I knew at the time it was wonderful. I knew it was this amazing gift, this changing point in my life that was happening. And I, for the life of me, couldn't open my eyes, nor did I want to. I didn't ever want this feeling to go away. I was just absolutely full of warmth and love and spirit and all the things that I had been trying to mechanically do in recovery to make this thing happen is happening. And I have learned that, God comes to you when you're ready for him, and he's always there for you. And so this I refer to as experiential knowledge of God. And until you've actually felt it yourself, I think you will always be cynical. But you have to be open to these things. At the end of this session that we were having, I did open my eyes, and I looked around, and my face was just soaked with tears. And later, people would say they were sorry for what I was going through. And it took everything I could to convince them that there is nothing that to be sorry for. This was the greatest gift I'd ever been given. And this isn't something that, it's not religious. This isn't religious in any way. This is pure spirit. This is what is there for all of us all the time. And I think for me, all it took me was to fake it until I make it, and to keep an open mind. And one day at a time, you hear these things in 12-step meetings, and that's what it's all about. And you just allow yourself the privilege of letting things like that happen. And I have to tell you, that was 21 years ago, and I have never had a desire to pick up a drink, because each day when I wake up, I just say a simple prayer to Jesus to just keep me sober today. Tomorrow, I probably will pick up a drink. Tomorrow I may pick up a drink, but today I'm not gonna. And I'm stubborn. A lot of us are stubborn, and keeps us away from God for a long time. But I don't pick up a drink this day. And tomorrow, I say the same prayer. And one day at a time, I get through this thing. And I would take back that moment that God found the perfect timing to come into me and to flow into me. And then it doesn't come without work. I mean, since that day, every day I have to make sure I'm not filling that garbage can up with crap again. So it's a maintenance thing, because I don't want to go back to where I was before. I was about to lose my job, my wife, my children, my house, my car. I would have lost everything. And I have everything that I've ever wanted now. And it's not a religious thing at all. It's a spiritual thing. And it's not just for a few of us. It's for each and every one of us. And also, something that's essential is I have to practice everything like this, all that I do, in all my affairs. I can't be one person at work. I can't be a different person in front of my kids and something in front of the mayor of North Bay. I can't be that way. I have to practice these principles in all my affairs and continuously pray. And the gifts are there. And for some reason, God still has me here 21 years later. So he wants me to do something else. And any chance I get a chance to witness for Jesus, I will do that, because he gave me my life back. So who am I to say I'm not supposed to do just this, And all I can wish is that when that happens to you, you will have that experiential relationship, that personal relationship with God. It's not some white man floating around in the clouds. It's not some great grandfather thing. It's a real thing. It's right here, and that's my story.
Did you miss the very first episode of My Experiences with Jesus? Scott shares how he saw his guardian angel when he was just 12 years old. To watch the very first episode, click on the link titled My Experiences with Jesus Episode 1, My Guardian Angel, in the description. Do you have an experience with Jesus you'd like to share? We're looking for you. Contact Scott Coolich at Cool Pictures or his personal Facebook page email. The links are provided in the description, and you may just end up on the program.